This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Snow Day. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. A nasty nor'easter ushering in the first region-wide snow event of the season. Schools closed today in both New York and Pennsylvania, and emergency officials are urging no unnecessary travel. This mom in New York's Hudson Valley likes what she's seeing outside her window right now.
Granted, Mother Nature lately hasn't really given us much in December, so I'm kind of hoping, first time in a long time, a white Christmas.
Correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has more from Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is bracing for a half foot of snow.
Roads slick with snow, causing collisions.
It's bad, guys. It's bad.
Snow crews also scrambling.
This is a disaster.
While residents in the Northeast get ready.
Yes, here for ice, a shovel, anything else I can find.
The winter storm comes just days after severe weather over the Thanksgiving holiday snarled millions of travel plans across the country.
Word to the wise, slow down if you have to go anywhere today. After the snow comes the cold. Daytime highs will be below freezing all week long. Nighttime lows will dip into the single digits by Friday. Who ordered what and why? The White House acknowledging a second strike on a Venezuelan drug boat, but is not saying the aim was to pick off wounded survivors. Former Defense Secretary and CIA Director Leon Panetta.
The basic rules of war that are involved here make very clear that you do not strike wounded people in the water in order to kill them.
Later this week, the Navy admiral who ordered the strike will brief Congress about the covert attack. The Trump administration says narco-terrorists are fair game for lethal military operations. Retired Army General Jack Keane supports the use of deadly force to eliminate the flow of dangerous drugs into this country.
We have a president for the first time who's really taking the narco trafficking, fentanyl, cocaine, and the rest of the drugs as a poison that is impacting American citizens, and that is to be applauded.
Still, a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers are now clamoring for an investigation into these drug boat killings.
There's a lack of clarity in what is a very significant military action.
We'll begin our oversight and get to the facts.
In the meantime, President Trump confirms he has chatted with Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro. During that phone conversation last week, Mr. Trump urged Maduro to leave the country. A dozen U.S. warships and 15,000 American troops are within striking distance right now of Venezuela. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met today in Moscow with Russian ruler Vladimir Putin. Those high-stakes talks at the Kremlin focused on finding ways to wind down the war in Ukraine. Reporter Ramy Inocencio.
We're hearing from the Kremlin a signal here that they are not willing to compromise on anything. The belief here from Vladimir Putin, we understand, is that he sees that any negotiations are a way of achieving its aims, Russia's aims in Ukraine.
In Ukraine, reporter Holly Williams.
Ukrainians desperately want the war to stop, but many here say President Trump's demand that they give away parts of their country is too high a price and an encouragement to Vladimir Putin to do it again.
President Trump's peace plan calls on Ukraine to give up territory and abandon its goal of joining NATO. Minnesota is facing a massive fraud scandal under the leadership of Democratic governor and former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz. Billions in public assistance is missing, and a lot of the money may have been funneled to the Somali-based terror group Al-Shabaab. Minnesota Congressman and House Majority Whip Tom Emmer.
Nobody's saying that all Somalis are criminals, but guess what? These crimes have been committed by Somali immigrants. But it doesn't stop there. You've got housing fraud, you've got daycare fraud, you've got 80 autism centers under investigation. All of this under Tim Walz's watch.
The Manhattan Institute's Chris Rufo.
Multiple billions of dollars have been stolen by Somali migrants, predominantly in Minneapolis. They were doing things like faking autism diagnoses, faking autism treatment plans, opening up fraudulent autism centers.
8 people were charged last week with wire fraud related to the scandal. A special election today in Tennessee could be a sign of things to come in next year's midterms. Democrat Afton Bain and Republican Matt Van Epps are locked in a tight race in a district that President Trump won by more than 20 points last year.
And Republicans really normally shouldn't be worrying about this, but we have seen during the Trump era, these reliably red special elections can get weird, though they rarely do flip. Though, there's Democrats like Conor Lamb who've done it, but that was a more competitive, moderate seat. That's not really what we're seeing here.
Political reporter Hunter Woodall says Tennessee's 7th congressional district should not be a battleground, but it is this year. A new study shows owning a smartphone before age 12 carries health risks. Researchers found higher rates of depression, poor sleep, and obesity among tweens who have early access to a cell phone. The study is published in the journal Pediatrics. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Tuesday. It's Giving Tuesday, winter driving tips, and PA pay raise.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. The disturbance that brought our snow this morning will be pulling away this afternoon. I'll be back with the details in the forecast coming up in 10 minutes.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then as winter weather returns. Police are urging motorists, make sure you clear all the snow and ice from your vehicle before you hit the road. Chemung County Sheriff Bill Schramm telling WETM.
Honestly, if you don't and you get stopped, you could be ticketed for obstructed view. You could be ticketed for reckless driving. Those fines range from $150 to $850. If you get reckless driving, then you get points on your license as well.
He says all windows and doors should be brushed off, as well as your back windshield, your hood, roof, and trunk. Also important to make sure your headlights and tail lights are clear of snow and ice. Your license plate, both the front and back, should be visible as well. A weekend house fire that took the lives of 2 children in Buffalo, New York, has been ruled accidental.
The cause of the Front Street fire was an electric heater that had been running inside the living room, dining room area on the first floor. The early morning blaze on Saturday claimed the lives of a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old. 7 others were taken to the hospital, including 2 adults. Multiple pets were also lost in the blaze. Due to extensive structural damage, the home is slated for emergency demolition. Demolition is expected to begin as early as today. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
Thank you, Dee. Pennsylvania politicians got a pay raise this week. The annual salary boost is mandated by law to keep lawmakers from voting themselves a bump in pay.
It's Groundhog Day again, with an emphasis on the hog. It's unbelievable.
Good government watchdog Eric Epstein with Rock the Capitol says pay raises should not be automatic. And since the budget was 4.5 months late this year, this one was undeserved.
They don't get a budget done, which is their job. And while they weren't getting a budget done, they were getting paid and having fundraisers. And to cap it off, they get another 3.25%. It's insane.
This year's cost of living adjustment will boost rank and file lawmakers' pay to $113,500 a year. And that makes PA politicians the 3rd highest paid legislative body in the country, behind only California and New York. A Pennsylvania hospital and 2 former nurses are being sued after patients were secretly photographed during their care.
A negligence lawsuit has been filed against Independence Health Westmoreland Hospital in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and 2 fired nurses accused of secretly photographing and recording patients last year. The suit was filed by the daughter of a 105-year-old who police say was among up to 10 victims. Investigators say the nurses, Peter Castellano and Melissa Tompkins, took inappropriate photos and videos of patients and shared them without consent. Both pleaded guilty in August to misdemeanor abuse of a care-dependent person and served brief jail sentences. The lawsuit claims the hospital failed to protect patients and allowed emotional distress. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Thank you, Brian. New York Attorney General Tish James is helping to allocate hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of baby formula to food pantries. It's all part of a settlement reached with businesses that overcharged families for formula during a shortage a few years ago.
Others also hiked costs by more than 60%, well beyond what the law allows. They exploited a moment when parents were vulnerable and, most importantly, when they were desperate.
Yesterday, the AG took part in donating over 7,000 cans of baby formula to the Food Bank of Central New York, which serves needy families in an 11-county area. Local leaders say that donation is appreciated, especially given the recent government shutdown.
What happened with SNAP and the uncertainty with WIC, we saw how fragile everyone's budgets are, how quick they were turning to the emergency network to support their day-to-day needs for their families.
Karen Belcher's president of the Food Bank of Central New York. It's been 3 months since New York's new cell phone ban took effect at schools statewide. A survey shows the no phone zones are being met with overwhelming support from teachers, parents, and even students. 92% of respondents say the transition has been smooth. 83% admit the classroom environment has improved. 3 out of 4 schools report that learning has improved since the cell phones were removed. Emma Turley is a high school senior in Syracuse.
Seems like classrooms are much more socially and academically engaging in all ways. Students are definitely communicating a lot more. And overall it's been great. It was an adjustment for sure.
Turley interviewed by Spectrum News. New York among 37 states that have enacted laws or policies that ban or restrict cell phone use at school. First, there was Black Friday, then Small Business Saturday. After that, Cyber Monday. And today is Giving Tuesday. The charitable event launched in 2012 asks folks to give money, time, or support to any number of causes, communities, and not-for-profit organizations. Every year, millions take part through donations and volunteerism. And as they say, if you give, please give generously, but only to reputable organizations. We've got sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, make it 10 in a row for the New England Patriots. Drake May and company beat down the New York Giants for their 10th straight victory, 33-15. May 24 of 31, 282 yards and 2 scores. Marcus Jones had a 94-yard punt return for a touchdown as the Patriots moved to 11-2 on the season. Giants, they're just the reverse of that. They are now 2-11. In Buffalo, Josh Norris scored twice and had an assist as the Sabres dominated the Jets 5-1. Bowen Byram, Jason Zucker, and Alec Tuck also lit the lamp. Sidney Crosby owns the Philadelphia Flyers. Crosby scored his 58th and 59th career goals against Philly to lead the Pens to a 5-1 rout of the Flyers. Crosby has dominated Philadelphia like no other visiting player in history. He has 137 points in just 92 games. That is the most by far by any other opponent. Sid the Kid gave Pittsburgh a 1-0 lead. Then his second goal broke a 1-1 tie in the second. And the Pens never looked back. Brian Rush, Thomas Novak, and Kevin Hayes also lit the lamp. The Blue Jackets, Ducks, and Sharks also skated to victories. In the NBA, Michael Porter Jr. poured in 35 points for Brooklyn to help the Nets snap a 4-game losing streak, 116-103 over the Hornets. Donovan Mitchell had the highest point total of the night. He had 43 to lead Cleveland over Indiana, 135-119. The Pistons, Wizards, Heat, Magic, Mavs, Jazz, and Suns, your other winners. That is a look at sports.
Thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report. Winter Wallop, Tennessee nail-biter, Venezuelan drug boats, and why socialism attracts younger voters.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Nuremberg, a new movie about the trial to hold Nazi war criminals accountable for their actions during the Second World War, ends with this prescient quote: "The only clue to what man can do is what man has done." While accusations of fascism and Nazis are tossed around far too often these days, it is essential that we know the conditions that made the Nazi rise to power possible. The Treaty of Versailles, which ended World War I, placed all the blame for the war on Germany. It demanded that the country pay reparations. The treaty was demoralizing and in many ways unjust, designed to turn Germany into a second-rate power that could never again wage war. Clearly, that was a miscalculation. The reparations were so extreme that it became impossible for Germany to ever pay them. Instead, the German government attempted to inflate the nation out of debt by increasing the money supply. People began burning paper money for heat because it was cheaper than buying wood. Women would bring wheelbarrows full of Deutschmarks to the store but could not even buy a newspaper with it. In fact, the exchange rate between the mark and the U.S. dollar at the time was 1 trillion to 1, so cigarettes were a more reliable currency. In 1923, a loaf of bread in Germany cost 428 billion marks. Postage stamps cost millions of marks. Savings were destroyed. Workers were destitute. University graduates and doctors drove taxis. The only Germans who prospered were those with real assets, such as landowners, financiers, and industrialists. So Germany became quite polarized. Moderate political parties became increasingly irrelevant. Many industrial workers, trade unionists, and intellectuals turned to communism. In this context, Hitler was able to rise to power by spotlighting the hardships of the people and telling them it was not their fault. He blamed instead the Treaty of Versailles and the German government, which had stabbed everyday Germans in the back. And behind it all, of course, Hitler claimed, were the Jews. The National Socialism of Hitler strongly opposed the International Socialism of the communists. So violent street battles between the two sides led many to conclude that the only hope for stability was dictatorship. And that's how Hitler came to power. Even those who believed his ideas were crazy went along with it because they thought that they would be able to control him. Now, America is not Weimar Germany. Trump's not Hitler. Calling political opponents fascists and Nazis does not make them so. Even so, however, it would be foolish to ignore the lessons that we can learn from Germany's political history. For example, we've not yet reached the point of hyperinflation, but inflation has been steadily building ever since the Biden administration's so-called quantitative easing as a response to COVID. Though the scale's not the same, expanding the money supply without corresponding increase in economic production, that's what caused hyperinflation in Weimar Germany. To be clear, we have to move upstream from politics on the ground and demonstrate how a biblical view of human dignity, of nations, of the rule of law, of marriage, of work, of productivity offer a better way forward. We must not avoid these issues. We must directly engage with them. What Paul instructed the Colossians applies just as much to the young people who are returning to our churches and to the churches to which they are returning. Quote, "See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ." The church has to engage in the intellectual life. The church has to engage in the real world of ideas and worldview. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
Thank you, John. Outside we go, Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life weather forecast for this afternoon. Steady snow, tapering to flurries. Watch for some slippery travel. High temperatures today in the lower 30s. A burst of lake effect snow showers and flurries for some this evening. Otherwise, just some clouds overnight tonight. Low temps dropping toward 20. Tomorrow, clouds, limited sun, high temps, low to mid 30s. Falling temperatures, flurries, and lake effect snow showers on Thursday. Temperatures that day starting is around 30, but dropping toward 20.
All right, gonna get cold round these here parts. Thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report. I'm Bob Price. Here's what's happening Tuesday, December 2nd. 60 million of us under winter weather advisories today as a nasty nor'easter barrels across the Family Life listening area. Rain, ice, and snow all in the offering. Katie Byrne with Fox Weather has more from Pittsburgh.
This storm does stretch all the way into the densely populated I-95 corridor. The impacts, they span 15 states, from Tennessee all the way to Maine. The past 7 out of 10 winters have produced below average snowfall. So some people are wondering if this early storm could mean that this year is different.
Schools in both New York and Pennsylvania were closed today. Transportation officials urging no unnecessary travel. Pete Cicchetti with the New York State Office of Emergency Management.
We expect this storm to essentially be a statewide snowstorm in every area north of New York City, but the areas that we are expecting to get the most snow are the Mid-Hudson region and Capital region. We expect across the state 2 to 6 inches in Mid-Hudson and Capital region, more likely to be 4 to 8 inches, and in the higher elevations up to a foot.
After the snow comes the cold. Arctic air arrives later this week. Nighttime lows by Friday will dip into the single digits. President Trump's issued a stark warning to Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro. He telephoned the rogue leader last week, urging him to leave that country. A dozen U.S. warships and 15,000 troops are within striking distance of Venezuela. The White House also defending its lethal tactics in the elimination of Venezuelan drug boats off the coast of that Caribbean country. Former State Department spokeswoman Ellie Cohanen.
Venezuela has become a hub of the drugs that are flooding our country, that are killing our children. I can't think of a single community in America, whatever your zip code is, that hasn't been impacted by the drugs that Maduro and Venezuela have flooded our cities and towns with. And so this is an issue that touches every American.
High-stakes talks at the Kremlin today aimed at winding down the war in war-torn Ukraine. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met in Moscow with Russian ruler Vladimir Putin. Meantime, on the streets of Moscow, there's hope the war could end soon.
I believe the end of this war is near. You think the end of the war is near? I believe it. Yeah. You hope so? Yeah, I hope.
Critics contend the White House brokered peace plan rewards Russia's land grab in Ukraine and sets a dangerous precedent for the rest of Europe. Today's the day voters in Tennessee go to the polls in a special election for the Volunteer State's 7th congressional seat. It's a district that President Trump won by more than 20 points last year, but this race could go down to the wire. Reporter Nicole Killian.
Tennessee, for the most part, is a ruby red state. This particular district is one that President Trump won by more than 20 points, yet polls have shown this race within the margin of error. So for Democrats, they feel encouraged that they've been able to kind of put Republicans back on their heels.
Democrat Afton Bain and Republican Matt Van Epps are locked in a tight race to replace retired GOP Congressman Mark Green. The son of former GOP presidential contender Nikki Haley is urging Republicans to listen to younger voters amid America's affordability crisis.
You look at jobs, 1/3 of recent college graduates are unemployed. You look at the housing market, and the average first-time home buyer in America is 40 years old now. 5 years ago, it was 33.
That's Nayland Haley, and he says there's a reason why a majority of Gen Zers are attracted to socialism.
I don't like socialism, but we also need to acknowledge that capitalism is a very broad thing. We need it to work for the average everyday American, not just for the elites and corporations.
In short, says Haley, Democratic socialists are doing a better job than conservative Republicans at reaching Gen Z voters. Officials in Portland, Oregon have sparked outrage after stripping the city's official Christmas tree of its name. During a lighting ceremony last week, it was referred to only as the tree. In fact, at that holiday event, speakers avoided mentioning Christmas altogether. It wasn't mentioned once. Instead, they mentioned this.
We're all here together, and so I felt like this was a perfect time for your guys' prayers for every single one of the Palestinians, all the oppressed peoples around the globe. And so if I could get a free Palestine, free Palestine.
Draped in a Palestinian flag, that speaker used the gala to make a political point. But one observer noted in Portland, Oregon, they're not just taking Christ out of Christmas, they're taking Christmas out of Christmas tree. The Food and Drug Administration says new state-of-the-art eyeglasses could help preserve a child's vision and reduce the chance of myopia. Later in life, myopia is often referred to as nearsightedness. That means you can't see things that are far away. In this country, 40% of children will have myopia by the time they finish high school. But these specialized glasses seem to slow the progression of myopia in kids ages 6 to 12. In fact, children who use these lenses experienced a 70% reduction in nearsightedness after just 2 years. You're listening to the Noon Report for a Tuesday on Family Life.
Helping men, young and old, through the power of the gospel. Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster, and this week, part 2 of our interview with Ray Rossler and Pat Fahey of the Buffalo Adult and Teen Challenge Ministry, providing hope and healing to those struggling with life control issues. Program Supervisor Ray Rossler says success or failure boils down to surrender.
You have to. If you're not prepared to surrender everything, you're going to fight and fight and fight and fight. And to be honest with you, I was tired of fighting. I remember the moment where I dropped to my knees. Pat was actually, he was there because we came in at the same time. And I was forced to go to detox when I came in because I was withdrawing so bad from alcohol, I couldn't even pick a fork of food up to my face without it falling off. He used to joke with me about it. Like, if you gave me a pepper shaker, everybody was getting pepper. You know? But you know what? All of that brought me to this point where after I came back from detox, I went to a statewide event with all of the New York centers, and a song by Corey Asbury called Egypt was playing. And that's when I had hit the ground and I couldn't control my emotions. I was like, that's it, I'm yours. And I didn't even know where this was coming from, but it happened. And I was like, that's it. I feel free. I am completely free. So I actually got it tattooed on my arm. That's my forearm. So if I ever get tempted by the enemy to go back to Egypt, I look down and say, I ain't going back, because I remember this moment for the rest of my life, the moment my life had changed. And going through the program, Pat was talking about leaning on your brothers. This man was like, he really helped me get through this program because it is definitely a challenge. We always say to people, if you're breezing through it, it's doing nothing for you. You know what I mean? If you're just going day to day, bidding your meal times and, you know, going through the motions, if you can only fake the funk for so long, they say. And sometimes it takes 6-7 months for the Holy Spirit to do its work. But, you know, Pat really helped me and guided me through a lot because he was spiritually sound. I was a brand new baby Christian, you know, and he kind of like was able to spoon feed me scripture when we were on our free time and explain things to me that didn't make sense. And, you know, without him, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at right now. He was definitely an inspiration. He's my brother for life, period. Amen.
So the organization, there's one here in Buffalo.
We have one in Rochester. We have our headquarters is in Syracuse, and we are reopening in Long Island next year. I'm actually going to be getting transferred down there to help run the Long Island program. You know, if you can't tell, that's where I'm from.
Just like being an accent.
Yeah, a little bit, right? But I've been in Buffalo 2.5 years, and my heart and my walk started in Buffalo, and a piece of me is always going to be here. So I'm going to try to definitely be a part of this Buffalo ministry for life. I have true Christian family up here in the city. You Bills fans are crazy, let me tell you. And it's a hero, not a hoagie.
One of the things in the Syracuse area is that a year ago they opened the first Syracuse women's home.
Yes.
So this is not just for men in upstate New York, from Syracuse across to Buffalo. If there's someone out there, a young or even older lady that's struggling and is in need of help, there are open beds in Syracuse in a beautiful cobblestone home that you'd go live in and live in an environment with other women that are coming off of life-controlling issues, some drugs, some alcohol, some abuse. They're all coming in from different areas of the state, the Northeast. In this home in Buffalo alone, we have guys from all over the Northeast, all over the country, as far far south as Florida. We are open and ready for the next Pat or Ray that rings the doorbell or calls us. You're never ready for it, but I'm always a believer that when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, we change. And that's how the addicted mind seems to work. God lets you begin to reap the consequences of the poor decisions. I speak for myself that I was making until it was my daughter who said, "Dad, you got to do something here." And I said, "Yeah, I think I'll go into another rehab in a halfway house." She said, "No. And she said, "Adult Teen Challenge, that's where you need to go." That's how God worked to get me in the doors. And it's amazing what God will do. It's a wide open invitation to people that are struggling.
And this ministry, it literally changes lives, and that's what we're in the business of doing. We're introducing you to something that you may not have ever heard, or bringing you back to the narrow path.
That's Ray Rossler and Pat Fahey of the Buffalo Adult and Teen Challenge Ministry, providing hope and healing to those struggling with life control issues. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
Great stuff. Thank you, Mark. Hometown Heroes comes your way Tuesdays during the Noon Report or online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or FamilyLife.org.
Good afternoon to all. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The system that brought snow this morning will be pulling away this afternoon with the snow winding down to flurries. Colder air will mean a few lake effect snow showers for some late today and this evening. Is Arctic air coming later this week as a winter pattern takes hold. For this afternoon, across central New York and central and eastern Pennsylvania, the steady snow tapering to flurries. Watch for some slippery travel. Farther west, western New York and northwest Pennsylvania, mainly just flurries. High temperatures today in the lower 30s. A burst of lake effect snow showers and flurries for some this evening. Otherwise, just some clouds overnight tonight. Low temps dropping toward 20. Tomorrow, clouds, limited sun, high temps, low to mid 30s. Falling temperatures, flurries, and lake effect snow showers on Thursday. Temperatures that day starting around 30, but dropping toward 20.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Finally today, a new study says cats do one thing differently for men than they do for women. What is it? Here's Bree Tennis.
When cats want attention, they meow. Big studies not necessary to figure that one out. But researchers at a university in Turkey found cats meow louder and longer for men than they do for women. And the why shows just how smart cats really are. Cats are louder for men because men are worse at noticing subtle feline body language than women. And they figured out they need to be allowed to get the attention they crave and deserve. I'm Bree Tennis.
All right, and that's the cat's meow. Thank you, Bree. And that's our world, the world we live in. Tuesday, December 2nd. Be careful on those highways. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.